Genesis 3:1. The serpent said to the woman, "Did God really say you must not eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman replied, "We may eat from the trees in the garden, but God did say, 'You must not eat from the tree that is in the middle of the garden, and you must not touch it, or you will die.'" "You will not certainly die," the serpent said to the woman, "for God knows that when you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." And you will be like God. It is only after Eve is told that the fruit will make her like God that she reaches out and eats it. Pride is the first sin. We don't want to be finite, limited creatures. No, we want to be in control, knowing all things, being in the know, feeling in control. We want to be more than we are. We want to be bigger than we are, smarter than we are, more respected and bold and awesome than we are. We don't want to be creatures. No, we want to be the creator. We want to be like God. And pride is perhaps the most inescapable of all sins. For while you might overcome gluttony or gossip or lust, you will then feel pride at having overcome it. As C.S. Lewis said, the devil is quite content to let you overcome your minor sins as long as you are becoming prideful at having overcome them. Quite literally, pride comes before the fall. Genesis 3:6. Eve took some fruit and ate it. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate it. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together and made coverings for themselves. Adam and Eve disobeyed God. Sin has entered the world, and yet the first thing that happens is not hellfire and wrath and evil things that go bump in the night. No, the first thing that comes with sin is insecurity. Adam and Eve hide their nakedness. Once sin enters, vulnerability becomes a weakness, something others can expose or use against us. We can hurt each other now. Others might laugh at our bodies or leave us for someone better looking or make fun of our lumps or scars. So now we look in the mirror and we worry, am I ugly? Does my stomach droop too much? Does my neck look too fat in photos? Do I have hair where there shouldn't be? Are my breasts too small? Are my muscles too weak? Am I too short? If I handed you a fig leaf right now, what part of your body would you use to cover it with so that others could never see it again? I know exactly what I would cover. And we're not just physically exposed. No, now we're emotionally exposed. Now others might use our secrets against us, might use our weaknesses and past and fears and dreams and hopes against us. So now we get self-conscious, embarrassed, ashamed, humiliated. Now we have to hide who we truly are, cover ourselves in emotional and spiritual fig leaves. Now we know shame. The world is no longer safe. You better cover up or hide. I knew this one woman. When she was 16, she wore a short sleeve shirt on a date. And her boyfriend at the time made a casual joke about her arms being a little flabby. And she hasn't worn a short sleeve since. She's in her 60s now. For over 45 years, she has been haunted by a flippant comment. That is what sin does when it enters the equation. This is not how it was supposed to be. Genesis 3:9. The Lord God called to the man, "Where are you?" And Adam answered, "I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid." And God said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree I commanded you not to eat from?" And the man said, The woman you put me here with, she gave me some fruit and I ate it." And then the Lord God said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" And the woman said, "That serpent, that snake, he deceived me, so I ate." So God asks Adam why he ate the fruit, and Adam blames his wife, Eve. And then God asks Eve why she ate the fruit, and she blames the serpent. Sin has entered the world, and with it comes guilt. We have guilt about sinning. But we have no idea what to do with that guilt. We're terrified of being wrong, terrified of admitting our failures, of looking bad. And so we pass the buck to everyone else. With sin comes guilt, and with guilt comes blame. Blame is guilt turned outward. We feel guilty when we sin, and we don't know where to put it. All we know is we can't bear it ourselves, and so we pass blame on to whoever's nearest. Husbands blaming wives, wives blaming their parents, parents blaming culture, culture blaming immigrants, and on it goes in this infinite chain of passing the buck. This is not how it was supposed to be. Genesis 3:22. The Lord God said, "The man has now become like one of us, knowing good and evil. He must not be allowed to reach out his hand and take also from the tree of life and eat and live forever." And so the Lord God banished him from the Garden of Eden. Sin has entered the world, and with sin comes death. God is the author and source of life. God is the one who is being itself. And so to be separated from God, to be separated from the author and source of life, is to begin to die. It is to no longer feast upon that fruit of the tree of life. And so with sin comes death. And with death comes the possibility of murder. Genesis 4:1, Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. And in the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. And Abel also brought an offering, fat, juicy portions from some of the firstborn of his flock. And the Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering, but on Cain and his offering he did not look with favor. So Cain was very angry, and his face was downcast. So Cain said to his brother Abel, hey brother, do you want to, let's go out to the field. And while they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. And then the Lord said to Cain, hey, where is your brother Abel? I don't know. Am I my brother's keeper? And so it begins. One sin in the garden snowballs bigger and bigger until the invention of murder. Cain kills Abel. Blood is in the soil. The tapestry of creation that God called good has been splattered with red. And it just keeps trickling down the generations. Cain soon has children of his own, and those children have children, and those children's children have children, and his children's 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 children have children. And on and on and on it goes. Generational sin is passed from parent to child. Bad fathers beget bad fathers who beget bad fathers. Those who are abused often go on to abuse. Dysfunctional families create children. They get married and then make their own dysfunctional families. Add broken homes to the list. We all know the statistics, right? Nearly half of all marriages today end in divorce. But did you know that children with divorced parents are twice as likely to drop out of high school, twice as likely to attempt suicide, and somehow are even more likely to get cancer? 1/3 of kids do not have their biological father in the home. So that's everyone in the left wing of the audience. %80 of women and 40% of men will report some form of sexual harassment or abuse at some point in their lives. And 1 in 5 women will report full-on rape or attempted rape. And what is terrifying is that most of those abuses do not occur in back alleys or at random parties with strangers. No, statistically, most of them occur at home with a partner or a parent or a trusted family friend. Most abuse occurs at home, in the place we are supposed to feel the most safe. This is not how it was supposed to be. So, broken individuals lead to broken families. And you put a bunch of broken families together and you get a broken village. And you put some of those broken villages together and you get broken cities, countries, empires, humanity reproducing, multiplying, expanding across the globe. And of course, the more of us there are, the scarcer resources and land become, leading to the invention of war. Now we have to fight to get what we want. And the victors of these conflicts then get to remold and remake society in their own image. They get to place themselves and those like them at the top, and everyone else at the bottom. The Egyptians get to enslave the Jewish race. Egypt builds an entire economy, an entire culture and system on top of hunched Jewish backs. Thus, with sin comes systemic injustice. Injustice that isn't just perpetrated by individuals, but entire societies, systems, economies, and ideologies, such as systemic racism. The average black household makes $33,000 less per year than the average white household. And some studies suggest that this wage gap is actually the same as it was in the 1950s. Women of color make up only 13% of the population, yet constitute nearly 50% of the minimum wage labor force. Black males are 6 times more likely to go to prison than white males. And insanely, black people are 50% more likely to die of COVID than white people due to the systemic racism baked into our medical and social systems. I, as an individual, may not be racist. You, as an individual, might not be racist. But the systems we participate in, benefit from, and prop up are undeniably, ridiculously, almost comically racist. Systemic sexism, another form of systemic injustice. 94% of CEOs are male. Nearly 75% of Congress is male. So all the money and the decisions being made with it are still almost entirely in the hands of men. Which might explain why the U.S. is the only industrialized country in the world that does not provide paid maternity leave. It might also explain why there aren't better systems in place to deal with violence against women. Did you know that globally, women aged 15 through 44, did the mic just go out? Is the mic on? Okay. Did you guys know that globally, so around the globe, here and everywhere else, women aged 15 through 44 are more likely to be maimed or die from male violence than from cancer, malaria, traffic accidents, and war combined. Let me say that again for emphasis. Women aged 15 through 44 are more likely to be maimed or die from male violence than from cancer, malaria, traffic accidents, and war combined. And then there's systemic classism. The wealth gap between the richest families and poorest families has more than doubled in the last 30 years. as some of you know, as you try to afford to pay to go to college. We are approaching levels of wage inequality. The richer are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer. This is not how it was supposed to be. And I know this is supposed to be controversial, that some people think that this is supposed to be controversial, but if you don't believe systemic injustice is real, then I'm not sure you're taking the fall seriously enough. If you don't believe that human sin permeates our very institutions, our schools, our workplaces, our governments, courts, public services, if you don't believe that flawed human beings make fundamentally flawed systems, then I'm not sure you actually believe your own creation story. I'm not sure you actually, truly believe in the fall. Now, the primary point with all this hasn't just been the details of Adam and Eve and the snake and Cain and Abel and all of that. I mean, perhaps the serpent could have been a rat, or a tiger, or a leopard, or something else, and the point of the story would still be the same, right? Perhaps you could have even changed the names and have it be Adam and Margaret, or Bill and Betsy, and it wouldn't really make much of a difference, unless you changed it to like Adam and Steve. But that's a much bigger discussion. And perhaps, instead of a garden, God could have made Eden a palace, or an island, or a mountaintop. Because the details of the story, well, they may be true, are not really the point. The real point of Genesis 3 has to do with what it says about the human condition. The real point is that something is wrong. Something has happened to the goodness of creation. Earth is cracked. Paradise is lost. Perfection has been postponed. The ideal and the real are no longer the same thing. There is now a distinction between what is and what ought to be. The world that God called good has turned into shame, insecurity, death, abuse, systemic injustice, and suffering. This is not how it was supposed to be. And it can be easy at times to forget that, especially in a place as wealthy and privileged as North America. But even here, we all have moments where the cracks begin to show and the brokenness of reality is revealed. Whether it is the sin within you that causes you to say something that you know you shouldn't. Whether it is the pain you try to repress from your past, but which bobs up at the least opportune moments to sabotage you. Whether it's your family baggage or broken friendships. Whether it's the systemic injustice that has perhaps never impacted you personally before, but which you are now just beginning to understand. Whether it's the death of a loved one or even your own death creeping up on you. Whatever it is, at some point, all of us, everyone, will say to themselves, this is not how it was supposed to be. And what Genesis 3 tells us is that you're right. Something is wrong. There is a problem. The goodness of creation has gone astray. This is not how it was supposed to be. And this is the part where I'm supposed to speak into the mic wrong and screw up my epic climax, because that wouldn't have happened in a perfect world. Guys, this is not how it was supposed to be. And this is the part where I'm supposed to make it all better, right? This is the part where I'm supposed to beeline to the cross and talk about redemption and make everything okay again, because we can't handle genuine sadness for more than 20 minutes before we need it to be okay again. But I'm not going to do that. Humanity sat in the darkness for thousands of years. You can sit in it for a week.